It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Have you ever listened to a podcast like this one and you wanted to bring up your own point or just chat with other people that are listening at the same time? Well, let me tell you about Spotify Green Room. This is the first social audio platform made just for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you're in, you can talk with us, other fans, athletes, insiders in real time about your favorite sport or team. Download the app, currently available on iOS devices. Create a profile, link your Twitter, join one of the groups for the latest league updates, and then you'll see us there. Spotify Green Room, changing the way we talk sports.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's the Locked On Coyotes podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today is Thursday, July 22nd. We're now just one day away from the NHL entry draft. How exciting is that? Well, let's say the Coyotes don't have a first round as we know of. So we're going to wait to the second round. We get 3 picks in the second round. Lots of exciting things to talk about in that. But here at the Locked On Podcast Network, we have a mock draft to share with everybody. Now I know it's something special because the Arizona Coyotes don't have a first round pick. But it's good to share where the Coyotes would have been, and maybe the kind of players that would have been available. They didn't have the pick. I don't like to hurt you guys and to say, hey, this could have happened if the Coyotes didn't do what they did. But it kind of, for some people, a lot of people want to know. They do want to know what could have been. That's just how some people's minds work in this world. So, anyways, like I said, we got a fun mock draft coming up for you guys. So instead of me just keep yammering and keep talking about the mock draft, let's just go ahead and go to it right now. So we're gonna go to part 1 of the mock draft, which is picks 1 through 16.
Welcome to the Locked On NHL Mock Draft 2.0. Joe DiBiase here from Locked On Sabres and Locked On NHL. In our first mock draft, we didn't know the entire draft order. They had some teams still battling it out in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we only did picks 1 through 16. But this time, we've got an entire first-round mock for you, all 31 picks in the first round, starting with myself making the first overall selection for the Buffalo Sabres. Hello all, Joe DiBiase from the Locked On Sabres podcast 2.0 version of our Locked On NHL mock draft. And with the first overall pick for the Buffalo Sabres, I am selecting Owen Power, defenseman from the University of Michigan. This is a different player than I selected with the pick in the first version of our mock draft, where I picked Luke Hughes. After more film analysis, after reading more about each of these players, Power to me has to be the pick, and there's a reason that he has become the consensus number 1 overall pick in the late stages of the NHL draft process. He had a great World Championships for Team Canada, started off playing more on their third pair and worked his way up to a 20-plus minute a game defenseman. Stretch passes, good movement for a guy of his size at 6'6". This is not the bone-crushing, big, bruising, Scott Stevens-esque defenseman that's going to be at the top of your lineup. This is a modern-day type of defenseman that you want. His number 1 trait might be passing. Every time he's going to make a stretch pass or even a smaller pass from his own end into the neutral zone, it's going to be right on the tape every single time to the forward. And I think that's the number 1 skill set you want out of your number 1 defenseman. And I think Owen Power has the ability to be a number 1 defenseman in the National Hockey League. Good thing for the Sabres. Sabres, he doesn't really have to be. I mean, he could be their number 2, their number 3 behind Rasmus Dahlin, and I think he'll do just fine. Probably going back to the University of Michigan for his sophomore season next year, but then back to the National Hockey League, or to the National Hockey League likely in the 2022-23 season.
What's crackin', hockey fans? Erica Lindsay Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken, here to announce that with the second overall pick in the Locked On NHL mock draft, the Seattle Kraken select center from the University of Michigan, Matthew Beniers. Beniers, continually touted as one of the more well-rounded players in this draft pool, also is a two-way player at center, 6'2", 175 pounds, has a year of NCAA experience. We picked him once. We're sticking with him. Matthew Beniers to Seattle. And as far as the next pick, I think we might have a trade deal to announce.
Hi everyone, this is Jason JD Hernandez, host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks, with some breaking news. In the 2021 Locked On Mock NHL Draft, the Ducks have made a trade with the Buffalo Sabres. The Ducks are giving up their number 3 pick, Jamie Drysdale, and Adam Henrique to acquire Jack Eichel and a 5th round pick. Once again, the Ducks are trading their number 3 pick and Drysdale and Henrique in order to pick up Jack Eichel and a 5th.
Hey guys, Joe DiBiase from the Locked On Sabres podcast, and with the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NHL mock draft, the Buffalo Sabres select William Eklund, Swedish forward out of Djurgården. I'm only 60% sure I'm pronouncing his team right. This is with a Jack Eichel trade to the Anaheim Ducks that I made with Jason Hernandez from Locked On Ducks. I think the Ducks are a very likely outcome for a Jack Eichel trade. They possess the 3rd overall pick. That's really the main reason why they would outrank a team like LA at 8 or Minnesota at 21 or other teams a little bit further down the draft order. You get the 3rd pick. There are reports out there that the Sabres have William Eklund out of Sweden as the number 1 forward on their draft board. Little smaller in stature, a good skater, not necessarily the fastest skater when you go straight ahead speed, but his edge work, the side-to-side movement is all there. The hands are there. The shot is pretty good. He says he wants to improve on that, and he definitely does need improvement on the shot if he wants to be a goal scorer in the NHL. But he's got the hands, the vision, the hockey IQ to be an elite playmaker in the National Hockey League, and I think he projects as a top 6 winger in the National Hockey League. And with the Sabres trading Jack Eichel, likely trading a guy like Sam Reinhart, they need to stockpile young forwards, and they're doing that with William Eklund in the 3rd overall pick.
BetOnline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. You can get all the news, odds, and info for all your sporting news, including the MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great starting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. You can even check out lines on tonight's NHL expansion draft. How cool is that? Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game. Head to the website or use your mobile device. Sign up for a free account today. Use your promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Once again, that's the promo code LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at betonline.ag. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
What's up? This is Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils, and with my 4th overall selection in the Locked On Podcast Network mock draft, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select Luke Hughes, who is committed to play at the University of Michigan, and he's also the younger brother of Quinn and Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is obviously the starting centerman on the New Jersey Devils roster. So are you thinking nepotism? Well, think again, because Luke Hughes is the best available player that is on the board. So the thing with Luke Hughes is that he starts with a perfect skating posture, settling comfortably into his stride as he darts around the ice. His skating habits are pretty stellar too, so he collects the puck in stride, skates through the passes, and weaponizes movement to draw opposing defenders to his orbit, creating space for his teammates. He's always looking to create advantages with the puck on his stick. Now, are we talking about Luke Hughes or Jack Hughes? Because both of them are just great quarterbacks to have for your respective offense. They both know how to facilitate their respective offenses. Obviously, Luke Hughes is a defenseman and Jack Hughes is a center, but at the end of the day, Luke Hughes just has tremendous two-way ability. So he's able to pass, he's able to skate through traffic, and he's able to just create shots for himself as well. So obviously, just him being that gifted of a two-way player can pay dividends for the New Jersey Devils, as they already have a two-way player who is also relatively young and also a left-handed defenseman, and that is Ty Smith. So now we have another defenseman to look forward to develop alongside with Ty Smith. So last year, Luke Hughes appeared in the USHL playing for Team USA. He appeared in 18 games, had 4 goals, 11 assists for a grand total of 15 points. So his only question mark is, in fact, his defense. And I know he is a defenseman, but at the same time, he's just a little too jumpy. I would much rather have a player who is too jumpy rather than a player who is too lazy. So that can obviously be toned down, but Luke Hughes is the best available player on the board for the New Jersey Devils to take with that 4th overall selection. So it is not nepotism. It is just that great ability from Luke Hughes, the younger brother of Jack and Quinn Hughes. So think of Luke Hughes as sort of a poor man's Quinn Hughes for right now.
Jay Foster here from Locked On Blue Jackets with the 5th overall pick in the 2021 mock Locked On NHL draft. We are pleased to select from Frölunda Hockey Club in Sweden, defenseman Simon Edvinsson. It was a no-brainer pick, really. Edvinsson has size, he's got skill. A lot of places have said that he is reminiscent of guys like Victor Hedman, guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson, guys like Seth Jones. His biggest kind of weakness, as with a lot of young players, is, his defense is still a little bit raw. He's got some pretty good offensive upside, but he's probably going to need some time in the AHL or still in Europe before he's ready to take on the NHL, which seemed perfect for a Blue Jackets team that is probably going to be focused on development over winning for the next couple of seasons. I'm really glad that Edvinsson dropped to 5th overall. He was probably 3rd on my board after Power and Beignet, so I'm really happy with this pick, and I would think that the Blue Jackets would be really happy with this pick as well. And I'm excited to see what comes next for the Blue Jackets in this draft and for Simon Edvinsson.
This is Noel Bianchi with the Locked On Red Wings podcast, and with the 6th pick in the 2021 Locked On NHL Mock Draft 2.0, the Detroit Red Wings are proud to select the goalie from Luleå HF, Jesper Wallstedt. Now look, this pick came down to pretty much 2 things. One, my delightful co-host Scotty has him number 1 on his big board. Loves Jesper Wallstedt. Me, I have a couple guys ahead of him, but they were all gone. William Eklund, Owen Power, Matty Beniers, Luke Hughes. So while we took William Eklund in mock draft 1.0, Sabres traded back into the 1st round and got him in the 2nd version, and that leaves us to choose the only player remaining with Hall of Fame upside. Maybe the only player in this draft with Hall of Fame upside. I'm certainly not upset about this if it transpires this way. He's the only player in this draft, maybe especially from 6 on, who's going to have potential to be your best player for the next 10 years. For that reason, I think you take him. I know the argument against taking a goalie in the top 10, but I do think the value is there in ways that it typically isn't. San Jose, you're on the clock.
Hey everyone, it's Kyle Demetrius with JD and Eric here from Locked On Sharks podcast, and with the 7th overall pick in the Locked On NHL mock draft, the San Jose Fake Sharks took Brent Clark.
Brent Clark is a defenseman. Last year he played in the Slovakia League, where he put up 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points in 26 games. Also an additional 7 points in the World Juniors. And then Eric can give us a little bit about his scouting reports.
Brent Clark is what you consider an offensive dynamo when it comes to defensemen. He's great in the offensive zone. Amazing at helping create offense. He's also not too shabby defensively. He's not an outstanding skater, although I don't think it should be an issue based on scouting reports. And if there's one question mark that a couple scouts have raised that we've spoken to, it's that maybe he's not always the best at making that first pass or two out of his own end to start the transition the other way.
But anytime you can add a guy of his skill set and his hockey IQ at 7, you do it, because at the end of the day, when you ask any scouts, his ceiling might be the best defenseman in the draft, and he's one of the premier players to be selected in this draft. So stay tuned to Locked On Sharks for all your draft coverage.
Hi, everyone. This is Sarah Avampato from Locked On Los Angeles Kings. With the number 8 pick in the Locked On NHL mock draft, the Kings select from the Edmonton Oil Kings of the WHL winger Dylan Guenther. With the more exciting defensemen of this draft class off the board, guys like Luke Hughes, Brant Clark, and Simon Edvinsson, and the other available defensemen being a reach at number 8, well, I decided to look at scoring instead, since scoring has long been an area where the Kings could use all the help they can get. And Dylan Guenther, he's scored at every level he's played at. In a shortened WHL season, Guenther scored 12 points and 24 goals with the Oil Kings, as well as 7 points in 7 games for Canada's under-18 squad, where he was also the alternate captain. And in 2019-20, Guenther recorded 59 points in 58 games. Some prospect analysts suggest that Guenther may be one of the best shooters in this year's draft. And while his defensive abilities could stand to be improved, that's something you could say about a whole lot of other young prospects who have turned into productive NHLers. There's plenty of time for Guenther to round out his game, and his hockey IQ, his ability to evaluate when to shoot and when to set up a teammate, is something that's already top-notch. For more on the Los Angeles Kings as they decide what to do with their first-round draft pick, go and follow Locked On Los Angeles Kings wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Mike DeStefano from the Locked On NHL podcast, and I'll be making the selection on behalf of Vancouver. And with the 9th pick in the 2021 NHL entry draft, the Vancouver Canucks are proud to select North Vancouver native Kent Johnson from the Michigan University, the Wolverines, going back to the well. It worked out so well for Vancouver the first time when they took Quinn Hughes a couple of years back from Michigan University. So they go out and they get themselves another dynamic player. And this guy is dynamic, super creative with the puck. He's a really solid, strong playmaker. Maybe one of the biggest upside players in this entire draft, and to get him at number 9, they got to be pretty happy with themselves. Had 27 points for Michigan in his freshman campaign through 26 games, playing a lot with Matty Beniers, who's gonna be a top 3 pick in this draft as well. So the Vancouver Canucks extremely delighted to add a player like Kent Johnson into the nucleus of Bo Horvat, Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Niels Höglander. You've got Vasily Podkolzin coming into the mix pretty soon. And then you've got Quinn Hughes on the back end and Thatcher Demko, obviously man in the pipes. A strong young nucleus growing in Vancouver, and they'll be happy to add Kent Johnson into the mix. And that is going to be the selection at number 9 for the Vancouver Canucks.
Hey everyone, Ross Levitan here with the Locked On Senators podcast, and we're for the official Locked On mock draft at 10th overall. The Senators are pleased to select from Olten in the Swiss second tier and Peterborough in the OHL, Mason McTavish. He's a powerful centerman with one of the best shots in the draft, and he skyrocketed up draft rankings throughout this season that was originally going to be lost due to the COVID pandemic. With Peterborough not starting up the season in the OHL, he was looking for a place to play, and because he has a Swiss passport, found a home in Olten. There, it took some time to adjust playing against men, but when he figured it out, oh, did he ever. He led the team in scoring down the stretch, had a hat-trick in a must-win game, and then led them in playoff scoring. Now, what happened when he got back to North America? He went to the U18s and won gold. He was a key member of Team Canada, even taking on the responsibility of captain when Shane Wright went down with injury. After the gold medal there and the body of work in general, he went from about a mid-second round pick, and now he looks like he's destined for the top 10. If he falls to 10 with Ottawa, there's no doubt they take the player who grew up only 10 minutes away from the Canadian Tire Center in Perth in the Ottawa Valley. So that meant also attending off-season skates in the area when he was growing up, through midget and all that. And Scott Wheeler told a great story in his feature in The Athletic where he said Mason McTavish's intensity at those skates was known to everybody. Pat Malloy, a skills coach in the Ottawa area, made note of a story when Claude Giroux, captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, makes over $8 million a season, and they were going toe-to-toe at it the entire skate, jawing, and Mason McTavish wasn't backing down one bit. Probably the only player in U18 tournament history with a full beard. Like, this guy's just mature beyond his years, and he puts up points in bunches. He's the type of player any GM would be lucky to have, and he's our number 1 pick for the Senators at number 10. Kent Johnson's good, don't get me wrong. The Canucks made a great pick there at 9, but also sticking with the local angle, Mason McTavish would look great as an Ottawa Senator.
BetOnline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. You can get all the news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including the MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great starting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. You can even check out lines on tonight's NHL expansion draft. How cool is that? Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game. Head to the website or use your mobile device. Sign up for a free account today. Use your promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Once again, that's the promo code LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at betonline.ag. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Hey hockey fans, this is Robin Leonio with Locked On Coyotes, the 11th pick in the 2021 NHL Draft, and the Locked On NHL Mock Draft belongs to the Arizona Coyotes. However, due to pre-draft combine testing violations that took place last year, Commissioner Gary Bettman decided Arizona will be forfeiting their 2020 second-round draft pick, so that was last year, as well as their first-round pick this year, and thus a selection is not being made. This forfeiture sets back a rebuilding team that was really hoping for a fresh start as they transition to the Central Division. The first time they'll be moving to a new division. And, they have a lot of steps to make to really kind of help, mitigate the effects of, for having to forfeit the 11th pick. And to hear about all these steps that this Coyotes team is working on this offseason in spite of this pick forfeiture, be sure to check us out at Locked On Coyotes, at LO_Coyotes on Twitter, and found wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everybody? This is Jack Bushman from Locked On Blackhawks. With the 12th overall selection in the Locked On NHL mock draft, the Chicago Blackhawks select from the SHL winger Fabian Lysell. The Blackhawks love going with European prospects in the first round of the draft, and I think they're going to add another one here in Swedish winger Fabian Lysell. The Hawks are in a little bit of an interesting spot, though, at number 12, but I think with Mason McTavish, Jesper Wallstedt, and Kent Johnson all already being off the board in this mock draft, I think the Blackhawks are looking for the player with the highest upside left available, and I believe that could be Fabian Lysell. And a lot of that has to do with his speed. Lysell is one of the fastest players overall in this draft class, and he also adds with that a very sound overall skill set offensively. So if the Blackhawks are looking upside at number 12, I believe Fabian Lysell is a great selection out of the SHL.
I'm Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames with the 13th overall pick here at the 2021 Locked On Mock NHL Draft, and with the 13th pick, the Calgary Flames select Cole Sillinger of the Sioux Falls Stampede. Sillinger adds down the middle depth for the Flames, who are in need of that as they potentially are moving on from some of their core members. And Cole Sillinger had 24 goals and 22 assists in 31 games in the 2021 COVID season. He stands at about 6 feet tall and weighs just about 190 pounds, and we look forward to welcoming him here in Calgary.
With the official 14th pick, but actually the 13th pick in the Locked On NHL mock draft, we again take, on behalf of the Philadelphia Flyers, Chaz Lucius, center from the USNDTP. We were surprised the first time around that Chaz was still on the board at 13, given that he's been a rising star in the rankings over the past couple of months, but it seems like we here at Locked On have definite opinions on who to take, and we like Chaz for a lot of the same reasons we did before. Corey Pronman and the Athletic rankings have him at 7. The NHL ranked him at number 9, although Elite Prospects and Tony Ferrari of Dober Prospects both have him a little bit lower at 17.
Chaz had an injury this past season, but he returned late to score 13 goals and 5 assists in 12 games, which is above a point per game average. He's primarily known as a strong shooter with tremendous skill and creativity at picking his spot in front of the net or from a distance. And to that point, the hockeyprospect.com NHL Draft Black Book noted that one area that makes Lucius so dangerous when catching and releasing is regarding his mastery of catching off his front and back foot, depending on the angle he receives the pass. Some players are much better at catching off one foot or the other, but he can catch off both. This allows him to remain balanced, which is critical when generating the necessary posture to shoot the puck when receiving passes.
Lucius is known to have a high hockey IQ, both with and without the puck, and is a great play driver and puck handler. In most situations, he will find the open guy and get him the puck. The main thing people say he needs to work on, surprise, surprise, is his skating, so he fits in with the Flyers. Mostly, it's on his speed and transition. Additionally, scouts have suggested that his game doesn't have enough pace and that he dangles a bit too much. We think these are things that he can improve on and pick up his speed during the next couple of years.
Chaz Lucius is a Minnesota native, and he's committed to the University of Minnesota, which we know Chuck Fletcher loves. So if he's somehow still available when the Flyers are picking and they still have that pick, Chaz Lucius would be a fantastic addition to the Flyers prospect pool, and playing next year at Minnesota will give him a really great opportunity to get those skating skills up and improve his game overall at the NCAA level.
Hey guys, Brandon Pillar from the Locked On Senators podcast here with you in place of the Locked On Stars podcast to make the 15th overall pick in this year's edition of the Locked On Podcast Network's NHL Mock Draft. And with the 15th overall pick, the Dallas Stars are proud to select from Karpat in Liga, Atu Ratti. Now, this is a guy who a lot of scouts a year ago had pegged as all the way as the number 1 guy. He has since fallen out of favor, but I think there's a lot of upside to be had here. We're talking about a guy who has a pro frame already at 6'1", 181 pounds. He has 47 games of Liga experience under his belt, and I see him as someone who stays as a centerman rather than shifting to the wing like a lot of other younger prospects do when they reach upper competition levels. The reason being is, like I mentioned, the size is there, but he's also able to carry the puck up the ice, and he's able to adapt to defenses trying to stop him at the blue line. He's very creative in getting the puck into the zone, and once they're in the zone, he has no fear getting to that high slot, high danger area to use his shot to beat goalies, and he has a great shot already. I see him as someone who there's a lot of upside to be had here, and the Dallas Stars are lucky to be able to select him with the 15th overall pick.
What is going on, everybody? This is John Chick with Locked On New York Rangers, and with the number 15 pick in the 2021 NHL Draft, New York Rangers are proud to select Francesco Pinelli, center for the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL. So you see, he's already a Ranger, and it just makes sense. But no, there's a lot to like about this kid. 6'1", 185 pounds, so he's got some size, he's got some grit. He has a really lethal wrist shot by all accounts by scouts who covered this draft. They all agree that he's got one of the better shots of any player available in this draft. Plays a very physical style, great passer, high hockey IQ, and is defensively responsible. Basically, it's just a complete list of everything that you would want to see from a center in the NHL. And on top of that, you know, I'm not really that big on drafting from a position of need in the NHL, because a lot of times what'll happen is, you know, you'll draft somebody and then it's 1 or 2 or even 3 years before we see this guy play in the NHL. And by that time, the dynamic of your NHL roster may have changed a little bit, and something that was looking like a weakness when you drafted that player is now maybe not so much a weakness, or it might even be a strength by then. But when you look at the Rangers center situation, it is a little bit scary because they are thin at that position to begin with, and the only two big-time centers that they have are Mika Zibanejad and Ryan Strome, and both of those guys are scheduled to be unrestricted free agents after this season ends. So I think if there's ever a time to kind of make an exception and indeed draft from a position of need, this is the time to do it right here, right now, this season. Go out and get yourself a center. But Pinelli, he put up big numbers in the OHL in 2019-2020, and then he was also loaned to the Alps Hockey League and hit the ground running there, put up some strong numbers there as well, and gives you some position versatility as well, because he can also play a little bit of wing. He's predominantly played center, but he can go to the wing if you need him to be there, and that's always a good thing, too, for all the reasons that we just mentioned. So, yes, give me Francesco Pinelli with the number 15 pick in the 2021 NHL Draft, and St. Louis Blues, you are on the clock.
And that is part one of the 2021 Locked On NHL mock draft. Part two could be coming your way tomorrow, as well as some news from the Arizona Coyotes of what happened after the expansion draft, and a preview into maybe what's to look into the second round for Arizona, since they got a lot of picks. We will get into that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review and subscribe if you've yet to already. Available everywhere you get your podcasts. All available. Also available on social media at LO_Coyotes, my personal, at RobLeonio1. Be sure to interact with us, ask us a question. We can answer them on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Again, that's going to do it for us here on this episode. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy, staying both cool and dry, and don't forget to howl on.
The Steelers get even stronger on defense. Here's what our local experts are locked on today. The Pittsburgh Steelers have added edge rusher Melvin Ingram on a one-year deal, the team announced on Tuesday. Are they building the best defense in football? Listen to our local expert Chris Carter on Locked On Steelers for the answer. Are the Houston Rockets poised to upend the NBA draft? That's today on the Locked On Today podcast. Meanwhile, our local expert in Houston, Jackson Gatlin, speaks with last season's breakout player Jay Sean Tate on the latest Locked On Rockets podcast. That's a must-listen. It's day 2 of the Ultimate Mock Draft. Our local experts across the country have teamed up with Chad Ford, Brian Scalabrine, and former Suns general manager Ryan McDonough for the Ultimate Mock Draft presented by the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey. The first 10 picks are on the feed right now. Find the Ultimate Mock Draft wherever you get podcasts. Local experts on the biggest stories. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Have you ever listened to a podcast like this one and you wanted to bring up your own point or just chat with other people that are listening at the same time? Well, let me tell you about Spotify Green Room. This is the first social audio platform made just for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you're in, you can talk with us, other fans, athletes, insiders in real time about your favorite sport or team. Download the app, currently available on iOS devices. Create a profile, link your Twitter, join one of the groups for the latest league updates, and then you'll see us there. Spotify Green Room, changing the way we talk sports.